social circles will allow family and friends to reunite safely while reducing the risk of exposure and spread. This means finally hugging a grandparent or sharing a meal with your parents or closest friends.
Ontario gets the green light to build social bubbles of 10 people. And yes, you heard, hugging is allowed. We'll tell you what that could mean for your family. A cabinet full of food out in Leamington. A dresser in Windsor also filled with food. We'll tell you about the Good Samaritans doing their part to help people struggling because of COVID-19. A live look outside, beautiful day, very nice with a little bit of wind. Colette Kennedy is going to have our full forecast coming up. I'm Chris Ensing. Thanks for joining us. We start tonight in Chatham, Kent. They've launched Phase 2, part of the province's reopening plan. Some businesses and public facilities have the go-ahead to reopen those doors with proper physical distancing measures in place. Jacob Barker is in Chatham tonight. He joins us now live. Jacob, what's it like out there?
Yeah, Chris, as soon as I drove into this area, I noticed a difference, especially because in Windsor and Essex, they're not allowed to move into Phase 2 yet. They still must stay in Phase 1, but as soon as I was driving in, I saw the hair salons open. There were patios out like this one behind me. Across the street, I can see a nail salon. I want to show you a few of the scenes that I saw as I was driving into town today.
It's liberating. It feels like we're free from the prison, from the prison of our house, I guess. I don't know. We love this restaurant. We used to come here all the time, and then we've been coming for takeout. But it's nice to be able to come back again and see the waitresses that we've known for so long, and see some familiar faces.
Well, they announced it Monday, so it did happen pretty quickly.
Yeah.
We had to get staff back in here. We had to do like these barriers to set up a temporary type patio.
We had to get all kinds of signage made, telling people, you know, where to exit, where to come in. Have to change the whole structure, how we do stuff. Well, it used to be people just walked in and sat down. Now you got to wait to be seated because we can't have you going to a dirty table. We got to clean those tables before the next person goes in.
We never stopped working. We always did takeout, but this is a relief to be able to bring in some more business.
Yeah.
It's a little overwhelming. I got on top of it right away and tried to make all the social distancing that I needed to do and have everything clean and divided. The shop's a little different than what it used to look like, but I think we got it all down. I was ready.
Do you find that there's a big demand coming back? A lot of people?
Yes. And there's people that we don't even know that are coming. I've actually had some people call from Windsor trying to come this way, but we're going to take care of our regular clients first.
Do you feel
safe?
safe?
Yes, I do here. Yes, for sure. Some places you don't feel so safe. I find in some stores people aren't wearing masks, like people walking in as if it's an ordinary life, and it isn't, I don't think. Yeah. We've been fortunate here with low numbers. We've got to keep it that way and keep doing what we're supposed to do.
It's so interesting seeing that here in the newsroom in Windsor, Jacob, with you in Chatham and what's able to happen. But there's still some limitations when it comes to this next phase for Chatham, Kent. How is public health managing all that?
Yeah, well, Dr. David Colby, the medical officer of health here, did allow some businesses to reopen today, but he didn't go all the way. The province did say that municipalities can reopen pools as part of Phase 2, but he chose not to do that. They are allowed to remain stricter if they want. They are allowed to have more strict rules in place. And I should also point out that people from Windsor and Essex, he said, are not being encouraged to come out here, especially if they have any sort of symptoms of COVID-19. He says because the health unit in Windsor is saying that people there is still community transmission, that for now, if they are thinking of coming to Chatham, Kent, and they are showing those symptoms, they should probably think twice. Chris?
Parker in Chatham tonight. We should have just 4 active cases in Chatham-Kent when it comes to COVID-19. The province is updating its public health advice today, as you heard. It's saying it's okay for you to have close contact with up to 10 close friends or family members, and you can do so without physically distancing. Queen's Park reporter Mike Crawley has the details.
Social bubbles is the term most people use. The idea? You don't have to limit close contact to just the people in your household, but you can bubble up with another household or 2. In Ontario, the government has decided to call it social circles.
Think of your social circle as the people you can touch, hug, and come into close contact with as we continue our shared fight against COVID-19.
Effective immediately across the province, it's considered okay to have close contact with people outside your household, but no more than 10, and it should only include those you're closest to.
This means finally hugging a grandparent or sharing a meal with your parents or closest friends.
Say you're a family of 4. You could form your social circle by adding one set of grandparents and your sister's family of 4. Or maybe you're a couple with a baby. Your parents and your partner's parents could join your circle, plus a few close friends. But people in one circle should not be in close contact with people from another.
It will be impossible for 10 people to only each have that circle. This is an explosion of bubbles. We won't be able to do it.
Still, people are eager at the prospect of expanding social contact.
I think that's good. I think as long as people are safe about it and kind of are particular with the 10 people they choose.
Try not to confuse the 10-person social circle with the province's new 10-person limit on social gatherings.
Social gatherings are friends, family. They don't necessarily need to be part of your social circle, but you do need to continue to maintain physical distancing. So you can see them, you just have to be spaced 2 meters apart.
And if you get it wrong, the Premier says, don't worry.
The social circle police aren't going to be knocking on your door.
This all comes as the spread of COVID-19 appears to be slowing across Ontario. The number of new cases reported today is the lowest it's been since late March, and that key number has been trending steadily downward for 9 straight days. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
A local look at the COVID-19 situation. Now, Windsor, Essex has the 4th highest rate in Ontario, a higher rate of the disease than the provincial average. Now, we've seen over 1,000 confirmed cases in Windsor, Essex since this started. Right now, there's 351 people who are self-isolating after a confirmed COVID-19 test. The focus has really shifted to the agriculture sector. 280 people have tested positive in that industry locally. That's overall, and that's as of Wednesday. The health unit doesn't have a breakdown, but at least 200 of those cases are migrant workers. There's 9 different workplaces dealing with an outbreak in Leamington and Kingsville. The health unit is not naming those workplaces, but they are in the agricultural sector, and 70% of the cases confirmed in the last 30 days in Windsor, Essex were in Leamington. I checked in with the head of a migrant worker advocacy group for his thoughts on what needs to happen next.
The province and the municipality have let this crisis fester. Things are going to get worse until concrete, immediate emergency actions are taken by both levels of government, and they're not doing so. How many more people have to get sick? We're at almost 300 people in this particular area, close to 500 to 600 people across the province. Isn't this enough? Haven't we seen enough people get sick as it is?
Now, also today, the health unit issued new orders for employers in the agricultural sector with migrant or temporary foreign workers. They must provide isolating migrant workers access to water, healthy meals, and a phone so the health unit can check in. If not, those employers are looking at fines of up to $25,000 a day. Now, the province, they announced new money, $15 million going to farm operators. The goal is to help pay for housing that allows people to isolate and personal protection equipment, among other things. Essex NDP MPP Taras Natashak says it's not enough.
We have to look and do a review of whether the regulations around migrant workers are adequate. Are the bunkhouse and congregate living situations, are they humane? Are they something that we can continue with? Have we had an exploitative relationship with our migrant workers? This is something that I think has been laid bare. And if we don't learn from this and try to fix some of these issues, we are bound to repeat them.
This assessment center that you see here, it's up and running in Leamington, started this week, and it will be open on Sunday as well. That's generally when migrant workers have their day off after working at the farms. They'll be open from 10 to 6, and they're sending buses to places in Leamington and Kingsville, shopping areas, so that workers have a chance to go and get tested.
There is no government money involved.
Local MPs join members of Unifor to call for changes to the rules around employment insurance. They say the current rules penalize workers who were off because of the pandemic shutdown. Many of those workers were forced to be on EI or CERB during that time. This is now affecting how many more weeks of EI they can get moving forward, or their eligibility to qualify for EI moving forward if they lose their jobs for reasons not related to COVID-19. This would affect workers that will be idled once the third shift at FCA is cut. The union says the government needs to address this.
It's almost like we're being penalized because we were on EI. And the fact that, we couldn't go to CERB, the majority of us, we turn around and we lose 10 plus weeks. So that, in a nutshell, that's kind of what we're all worried about.
The union also says people who can't return to work because daycares aren't available also should be able to allow to collect EI. Leaders estimate that this issue affects between 5,000 and 6,000 workers here in the Windsor area. A Leamington store owner has set up a Help Yourself food bank outside of his shop. He wanted to help people who've been left jobless because of COVID-19 shutdowns. And as Dale Molnar reports, his generosity has inspired a Windsor woman to do the same thing.
When a regular customer couldn't pay for a loaf of bread and a chocolate bar for his 7-year-old son a couple of months ago, the owner of this Parkdale store and auto service on Seacliff Drive knew he had to do something.
I realized that there are so many people like him who have been impacted from this thing. So why shouldn't, do something which can help them in this difficult time?
So Sean Chowdhury dug an old cabinet out of storage and filled it with food. He's invited members of the public to leave food in the cabinet too, if they have the means to donate. And those who need the food are invited to take it.
And we should be thinking about those who are less privileged and who needs our help.
Chowdhury says Leamington residents have been opening up their hearts and bringing food and produce in every day.
Luckily, in Leamington, we have one of the best generous community.
The first drawer, I kind of filled up. The second drawer, I put a couple things, but people have been really gracious with adding some food.
Tammy Atherton, an out-of-work massage therapist herself, saw Chowdhury's food bank on Facebook and decided to do the same thing. She got an old dresser from a neighbor and put some food in it and put it to the curb in front of her Lincoln Road home. It invites people to take food if they need it and leave food if they can.
I just felt that I love Walkerville, South Walkerville, and I think that it's great to give back to the community.
That's amazing. That's what exactly we want, that more and more people think about the people, those who are unprivileged, those who really need us.
Chowdhury is also happy people are being generous without wanting anything in return. His food bank is open during the 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. business hours, but he's willing to open it up at other times if people are in need. He knows of at least 10 to 15 people he's helped so far, but he's sure there are many others. Atherton says lots of neighbors have been leaving food, but so far no one has come to take any. She says if she has any food left over, she will donate it to the June 27th Miracle Food Drive for Goodfellows. Their volunteers will be around to pick up donations left on front porches that day. Dale Molnar, CBC News, Windsor.
Places of worship are allowed to reopen this weekend at 30% capacity. For religious leaders in our city, it's a joyful moment. We checked in with the Harvest Bible Church as it prepares for Sunday and the Windsor Mosque, where prayers started up again earlier today.
This is a way how we connect. This is our social life. So it means a lot for us. So when the presence of the mosque is not in your life, you feel that you lost a lot. It happened to me that couple days I turned back and nobody behind. And I was praying there with other two employees. And the mosque is empty, and sometimes I was alone there. And it was hard on me. That was actually tears of joy, happiness. Yes, we are still in the middle of the pandemic, but at least this is a moment of people coming together to reconnect it.
We're very, very excited. It's been very challenging to be closed for 3 months. At the beginning of the lockdown, we were able to communicate with people through Zoom or Facebook or phone calls, but I noticed that many people started kind of going a little quiet on us. And so I really think people have been struggling with this isolation and this disconnectedness. And so we're looking forward to being able to be back together to help resolve some of that. If a family was, let's say, taking up these 4 chairs, there would then be 3 vacant chairs. You go online, you sign up, you read through a waiver, you sign the waiver, and then you'll have a spot reserved for you on Sunday morning. So people enter through our main entrance here. And then when you come on Sunday, you'll have an opportunity to check your name off and get your temperature checked, and then come on into the auditorium and worship with us.
We want to show you this picture just before we head to break. A pair of workers up top on the suspension lines of the Ambassador Bridge. That is taking physical distancing to a whole nother height. Colette Kennedy with the forecast next. Joining us now for a live look at the weather is Colette Kennedy. Colette, Jacob Barker was inside of a hairdresser, a salon, a haircutter earlier today, and we can't find ourselves in one of those yet. We're still in these closed sections, eh?
Yes, I remember those days. Oh yeah, that's what it's like. No, I mean, our day will come, Chris, right?
Soon, yeah.
How are you feeling? Are you feeling it, just hanging in there?
I'm looking forward to a haircut, I think everybody watching is too.
Yeah, I try and stay positive. I'll show the camera, our viewers, to see my dark roots here.
The background here, I don't know if this, yeah.
I've been coloring my hair so long, I didn't know how much gray I had, so it's been kind of fascinating to find. I mean, I have one patch back here from a bad relationship about 10 years ago, and after that ended, it was like, oh dear. But now
the things that come out during a pandemic.
You just got to go with it, have a good attitude, and someday I'll get these roots done too. All right. Shall we talk about the weather as well and get into a little bit of, there's not a lot that's going to be happening in terms of the weather pattern. It's going to be holding. So I have an absolutely just isolated shower risk for us as we're going into these evening hours earlier before midnight kind of through here. And then we'll have sun tomorrow, but there's going to be a bit more cloud cover than what we're going to see on Sunday. And then in terms of the temperatures, they're actually running a little bit below seasonal, and then they'll be kind of picking back up by the time we get towards midweek. So currently we're sitting at 20 degrees, and just so you know, at this time of year, 25 would be a more seasonal high for us. Those winds, they're not that bad, but they are coming off the lake, so say up towards Sarnia, where as we go in towards tomorrow, it is going to be a little bit on the cool side there. Elsewhere, the winds aren't a huge factor through here. And then as we look ahead, this isn't going to change that much. That's that little bit of moisture that I'm talking about coming through, bringing some of the cloud cover. We'll hold a bit of that into Saturday. Most of the rain is going to stay to the south, and there's not much of it, but stay to the south of us. And then what we're looking at here in terms of our temperatures is, like I say, it is a little bit cooler. It's comfortable at night for your sleeping. Otherwise, there's just nothing to see here. It's comfortable because we're in these single digits, 8 degrees tonight, 20 tomorrow, 5 degrees below seasonal. And then you look at that range of what's happening. It's almost boring, isn't it, in terms of, Chris, what's on there? But you will see those temperatures starting to come back up for those who want it.
No, absolutely. Thanks again for this, Colette.
Yeah, have a good weekend.
Yeah, you too. And we'll be back in a few just after the break. New details have emerged about an incident in March involving RCMP officers and a First Nation chief in Alberta. Dashcam video shows an officer tackling Alan Adam to the ground, punching him and putting him in a chokehold. This comes amid heightened debate around racism and excessive use of force by police. A quick warning here, viewers may find some parts of the video disturbing. Carolyn Dunn has the latest.
7 minutes into a confrontation with police, this. Athabasca Chippewan Chief Alan Adam was tackled, punched, and put in a chokehold. It happened in March, but the tape is just being released by the legal team of Chief Adam now.
There is important answers to have on these specific things, but also on the pattern that we are seeing of why so many Indigenous Canadians or racialized Canadians are afraid when they are interacting with the police. These are things that we need to address, and we're working on it together.
At one point, Adam removes his jacket and appears to take on a fighting stance. His defense lawyer is seeking to use the video to have charges against Adam stayed. The RCMP has charged Adam with 1 count each of resisting arrest and assaulting a peace officer. He's to appear in court in July. A group of lawyers in Alberta is calling for the resignation of Deputy Commissioner Zablocki, senior officers who reviewed the tape, and officers involved in beating Chief Adam.
Someone in a position of leadership to deny that systemic discrimination exists in Canada when our Supreme Court has recognized it since the 90s, it's absurd. And if you're in a leadership role like that and you can't recognize that, then perhaps it's time to go.
The RCMP initially said that force was justified to arrest Chief Adam and didn't require an outside investigation. The video was released just days after the commander of the RCMP in Alberta denied systemic racism in Canadian policing. And today, he said this.
It was never my intention to minimize anyone's experience or to hurt, racialize, or Indigenous people through my comments. I have personally learned much this week, and I'm completely committed to ensuring that I and the employees of the RCMP in Alberta continue the necessary work here in the province to eliminate systemic racism.
Alberta's Serious Incident Response Team is now investigating the use of force in the arrest of Chief Adam Allen. Carolyn Dunn, CBC News, Calgary.
In New Brunswick, an artist has taken to social media to voice his opinion on police brutality. Clyde Ray has been posting his poetry daily on Facebook, and a CBC video producer met up with Ray earlier this week in St. John, where he shared his work.
On the path to destruction, your tears and my tears, your anger and my anger are worth nothing if you or I can't look into our souls and into each other's eyes and say together, you have worth. Your anger and my anger will only be loud noise that fills the air and the streets. If your vision or my vision is incapable of seeing injustice, then our tears are only temporary and are worthless. Then what drips from our lips will dry up and be only a moment of lip service. And you and I know there have been years upon years of lip service. If you can't, and I can't really see the inequality, then there is no use of either you or I to march in the streets. There can only be a continuation and an escalation and a nation that is destined to go up in flames. You and I have to reach deep.
Some beautiful words for us all to reflect on as we take a final look at the city of Windsor this week. If you need details on any of these stories or more, go to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. We're on social media too. Just search us on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. Thanks for watching. Have a safe weekend.